Aloha, everybody. I'm Natalie, and this is Life After a Cult, the channel where we expose cult nonsense, laugh at the absurdity, and hopefully we unbrainwash ourselves in the process. Today, we've got a protester facing felony charges, a town that almost honored L. Ron Hubbard, then collectively said, yeah, no, and a legal circus so wild that even David Miscavige might be stress testing himself this week. So grab your coffee, grab your emotional support animal. I have got my tea. We are going to get culty. We have got a question of the day already up there and pinned. And it is, if you had to rename Dianetics to better describe what's inside, what would you call it? So my pick is how to gaslight yourself into bankruptcy. Tell me what you think in the chat. We'll try and share some of those in a little bit. And then what we're going to do, let's see, if you're on the replay, jump in with those comments as well. I want to know what you think about that. I do. George Massey. Aaron, the new hairstyle and glasses look good on you. Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. Good morning, Allie. All right, let's jump into this because I've got things to process and I need you all to help me. First, we're going to look at a clip that a bunch of you sent me. This is interesting. The creators of South Park talking about why it took them so long to do a Scientology episode. I mean, we all had our suspicions, you know what I'm saying? But. It's great to hear them share it. So let's take a look at that clip here. And then again, this is from the creators of South Park on why'd you wait so many years to roast Scientology?
To do a Scientology episode since the show started, mostly because Scientology is just funny. And unfortunately, Isaac Hayes was a Scientologist. So just out of politeness, for years, we didn't touch it. I just think it was a couple years ago. We couldn't think of anything else. I remember Trey's like, let's do a Scientology episode. Like the lawyers won't let us do it because Scientology is so, lawyer heavy. Well, to Comedy Central's credit, they said, yeah, go ahead and do it. And it aired, but it really started hitting the fan about 3 months later. Now Isaac had quit the show.
Because they called us and they said, listen, guys, we need to tell you, we're going to pull this episode because certain people involved with Mission Impossible 3 want it pulled off. So we're going to pull it off, but we just don't.
Certain people involved with Mission Impossible want us to pull off the episode, like not do it. Who could that be?
Don't want you to say anything to anybody. It's going to be on the internet. And sure enough, without us saying anything, the next morning at 6 a.m., it was Tom Cruise got the show pulled off of here's how it went down and all this stuff. And they thought it came from us. And so, but we didn't.
We wanted to do a Scientology.
Isn't it interesting how, once again, Scientology takes action against somebody or something, or they're offended by this, they don't want it to happen, and they share it. And what ends up happening? It backfires on them completely. It just completely backfires on them. Once again, we just see this over and over and over and over again. But, I don't know, doing the same thing, expecting the same result. I think there's a word for it. What is it? Oh, my God, it's on the tip of my tongue. Yeah, insanity. Insanity. That is the word. But they'll continue to do it. They have to do it because they have to follow the dictates of L. Ron Hubbard. Yes, dear leader. Although now dear leader is David Miscavige. Let's take a look. There's something a little interesting that happened, a little bit of touching into the celebrity world here. As y'all know, Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise were married. They adopted 2 children, Bella and Connor Cruise. When they split with the help of Scientology, Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise's kids were turned against the mom. They thought she was a suppressive person. People who actually were involved in doing it came out and blew the whistle on it and said, yeah, that's what we did. Oh, yeah, that's what we did. So we know that's what they did. And this whole time it's been rough watching. Well, rough for me. I don't even know these people. What am I talking about? Look at me. I'll be on parasocial with Nicole Kidman. But I just feel for her so much. I need to email her my thoughts. Okay, so Bella Cruz has been living in London and she's been doing Scientology galore, right? And she got married out there. And there is this entire article over one little thing, but I think it's worth pointing out because I think it's interesting. This is from, what is this? Us Weekly. Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman's daughter, Bella, publicly supports half-sister Sunday Rose's modeling. So what was the big thing that Bella Cruz did to warrant an entire article in Us Weekly? What did she do? She liked a post. She liked a post from that involved her sister's modeling, and she liked it. And, her mom was in the picture. So it's like, oh, it's a sign of support. Could her heart be softening when it comes to her mother? I don't know, but I want to know what you guys think about this, because those of you who've been following my channel for a while, or the whole anti-Scientology world, understand that when someone is declared, or Scientology says, oh, that person's not good, you're not allowed to have any contact with them. And we know factually that Bella and Connor, when they were younger, were indoctrinated to believe their mother was a suppressive person. So tell me what you think. Do you think, let's do it this way. Put a 1 in the chat if you think her liking it and showing support is a little pushback on Scientology and her dad, or a 2 if it's just, I don't know what it would be, that they don't care. I don't know. It's interesting to me because, there are rumors that, oh, Scientology's lightening up on their disconnection policy. I don't believe it at all. I don't believe it at all. They've told us so many times, oh, that no longer happens. What? Rehabilitation project force? What? No, not here. Are you saying we're doing it? All right. Some are saying 2. One is saying 1. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's not something that happened before. So I think it's going to be interesting to keep an eye on. Hey, Sarasota Jerry, aloha to you. Oscar's like, yeah, I think it's pushback. Janet too. Mock says it could be a PR stunt to squash rumors about disconnection. I think so too. Mock, that did cross my mind, because they got to know that it's going to make news, that it's going to be in the media. It's like when you're a celebrity in LA and if you go to certain restaurants, the paparazzi are going to take a pic and it might end up somewhere. And sometimes they intentionally do that. So I've kind of wondered about that. Jesse, good morning, my fellow alohatologists. Oh, that's funny. But that's good insight, Mike. Mock, excuse me. I think so too. All right. Now we got an update in the Neil Gaiman case. Ick of all icks. So, here's what's interesting. This article's out of New Zealand. There's also another article recently out of the US. Neil Gaiman, he's basically, he's been denying the R claims and the SA claims. He's trying to get the case moved to New Zealand because they're saying that's where this happened. So let's see here. The gist of this here is that Neil Gaiman is denying the claims, and that he's providing messages that back up what he's saying, that no, this was consensual. He is asserting and putting forth that he has never had non-consensual sexual activity. And and yet he has victims over here, alleged victims, telling a different story. But Neil Gaiman came forward and shared some messages that he is claiming is from, what was that young lady's name? I believe it was Scarlett, yes, that's right, Pavlich, and that this happened in New Zealand. So one, that he feels the case, him and his team are trying to get the case moved to New Zealand. And then he provided these messages. Let's see, are they in this article here? So he's saying none of Pavlich's claims are true. He's saying, although false, the alleged conduct claimed and described in the complaint all supposedly occurred in New Zealand. And he says, no matter what plaintiff says happened, it all happened in New Zealand between a New Zealand citizen and a New Zealand permanent resident. There's no legal authority to adjudicate her lawsuit in federal court in Wisconsin, which is another, Neil Gaiman also has a home in Wisconsin, or in other federal courts around the United States. So this is what's in the documents that were provided. Gaiman indicated that WhatsApp messages provided to the court demonstrate, in Pavlich's own words, that the relationship was consensual. Now, the exhibit that he shared, which are messages from February 2022, the same month as their first encounter, in which Pavlich allegedly wrote, "Thank you for a lovely night. Wow." And then with an X, which X is still kiss. Are we still XOXOing? I XOXO sometimes. Kiss, hug, kiss, hug. I mean, I know it's not an emoji. I could just be dating myself. The younger people are like, what is X? What is XOXO? Why does Natalie keep putting that in tags? Goes on to say, in or around November 2022, Pavlovich reported her allegations to law enforcement authorities in New Zealand, and those allegations were thoroughly investigated by New Zealand police, and no charges were brought. So Pavlovich earlier this year painted a very different picture of the events in a January 13th interview with Vulture, a U.S. entertainment news page for New York Magazine. So goes on to kind of like, there are more details in there, but that's kind of like what is happening. What they're trying to have happen is get the case moved to New Zealand. And I would imagine they have multiple reasons for that. First thing I think of is maybe they think that if it's in New Zealand, and this might even be true, you guys tell me what you think. And if you're on the replay, please jump in those comments. Will it affect him and his projects less if this case is taken up in New Zealand? Or do they want to take it up in New Zealand because it was already investigated and no charges were brought? Is it a tactic? Tell me what you guys think about this, what your thoughts are. Luna, yes, Master tells you everything. Oh my God, I know. It was so good. And there are communities where where people are into that. That's their vibe. But there are rules and there's a lot of consent, I'm told, all around all of this to keep it safe. And, we have different sides of this. So it's interesting, I think, that they're trying to push it over to New Zealand. Julie O'Connell says, my mom does XOXO too. Okay, yeah, see, total grandma vibes. That's what I'm given, as per usual. Oh my goodness. Arkansas Flamingo, thank you for that reminder. Hit that like button, y'all, and hit that subscribe as well. We got a lot more fun, all kinds of stuff to get into today. But there's your little Neil Gaiman update on what's happening there. Now, we need to talk about something. We have to talk about L. Ron Hubbard Day and what Scientology does to try to make this happen. I know that a lot of my friends who are in the former Scientology camp might be aware of this and might not. Every year at L. Ron Hubbard's birthday, one of the things, and I think they do it at other propaganda events too, is what they do is they present all this information, all these declarations about L. Ron Hubbard Day. And they want to do it leading up to his birthday, which is this week. It is March 13th, which happens to fall on a Thursday, which is why I got to make sure the Office of Special Affairs knows about this. So let me grab David Miscavige. Wake up your people. Office of Special Affairs. Office of Special Affairs. Okay, so this L. Ron Hubbard Day thing, years and years and years. I went to Scientology events, sat through these and sat through it is L. Ron Hubbard Day here and here and here. And as a good little Scientologist, I sat there thinking, wow, look at all these cities and communities acknowledging L. Ron Hubbard. I thought that they on their own, like Portage, the specific community we're going to talk about, that they went, oh, you know what? L. Ron Hubbard birthday. L. Ron Hubbard's birthday's coming up. We should make it L. Ron Hubbard Day. That is not what happens. What happens is the Scientology puts together these proclamations and they present it to a city council to try and get it approved. It's not the city themselves going, oh my gosh, let's have L. Ron Hubbard Day because it's the best thing ever. It's not. It's not. It's them doing it, which I did not know and find out till later because I did not quite understand how it worked and how that came about. I'm going to link an article down below that gets into that. And so Portage is a community in Michigan. And despite Scientology trying to sneak a win in Michigan, it has failed, but not completely failed. Okay? Not completely. Here's the article here. I'm going to give you a little look-see at this here. I'm going to link this down below, okay? I didn't do the ad thing. No, thanks. Portage proclamation could recognize Scientology founder's book. So you see, they ended up changing it. They were going for L. Ron Hubbard Day. Tell everybody how amazing L. Ron Hubbard is. And this town was like, yeah, we don't think so. So here's what I think happened, right? You got the people in that town on the city council. They're minding their own business. They're living their life. And suddenly do they think, you know what? You know what our town really needs? Yeah, L. Ron Hubbard Day, or a proclamation acknowledging his, not a cult self-help book. Well, so Scientology goes and they put forth this proclamation from the L. Ron Hubbard Foundation, which, spoiler alert, is a fancy way of saying Scientology with a fake mustache. We're not the Church of Scientology. We are the L. Ron Hubbard Foundation, and we're trying to get this done. So they send this proclamation request to the Portage City Council. So they wanted the city to officially recognize the 75th anniversary of Dianetics, which is May 9th, a couple months away. But not just the book. They originally wanted March 13th to be L. Ron Hubbard Day, because remember, they need this. They need this to show all the people, hey, it's L. Ron Hubbard Day. Everybody is so down with this, don't you know? Well, I don't think the people of Michigan, or at least in this town, were feeling it so much, because what better way to honor Michigan's rich history of craft beer and winter depression than to celebrate a guy who invented a religion based on aliens and expensive therapy? Portage City Council took one look at this and basically went, oh, this is a lot. Maybe let's throw a full birthday bash for Hubbard, or not. Maybe not. Maybe we don't want to be doing that. What if we just say, hey, this book was published, and we move on? So there seems to be that there was a bit of a compromise that was reached. The original proclamation, let me grab my notes. Here's what got axed from it. The first clause, which made it sound like L. Ron Hubbard single-handedly solved mental illness, nope, gone. The final clause, which originally said, the world is in desperate need of Scientology's technology. Yes, Scientology is trying to get city councils to sign off on this and agree with them. And they were like, yeah, we're not doing that. Then they also asked for the entire March 13th is L. Ron Hubbard Day, that whole bit, because no, not doing it. That's what they wanted. Let's see. So was this, let's see. From the most ancient times to the present, humanity has found itself in a state of helplessness when confronted with strange behaviors, illnesses, and human aberrations. No, I don't think that's going to be part of it, because that translates into, before L. Ron Hubbard, people just wandered the earth in complete confusion, bumping into walls and drooling until one day, poof, Scientology saved humanity. No, didn't happen. But that is what Scientology wants it to be. And I've never been to Portage City, and even though they're letting a little bit of this in, I will give them mad props for this. And if anybody knows anybody in that area too, let me know. So what it did say, what this proclamation is going to say, is that the part that says Dianetics was published in May 1950, factually true, right? Boring, but true. A line calling the book a, quote, landmark work for spiritual and mental health. All right, I don't think they read the book. A Hubbard quote about how he likes to help people. Sure. If nothing else, we have learned how much L. Ron Hubbard likes to help people out of their money. That's what. What they really mean is L. Ron Hubbard wrote, I like to help others by charging them thousands of dollars for a pseudoscience book and some outdated lie detector tests. That's what's really happening here. And here's what's going to happen. Now, I don't have the dates. I'm going to link the article. Maybe they're even in there. But a Scientology representative is going to read this proclamation out loud at the city meeting. Maybe it's one of these where they live stream it. I mean, that happens where I live. You can go on to YouTube and watch the meeting live. So if you're in Portage, Michigan, Portage City, and you want some free entertainment, just show up with popcorn and see what happens. Bonus points if you start coughing every time they say L. Ron Hubbard. I have this. Y'all, did you guys, I'm going to digress for a minute here. Did you guys watch Tiger King? Who saw Tiger King back during 2020 when it came out? We were all locked in our homes and we watched Tiger King. Do you remember how with Carol Baskins, it became this trend where people at campgrounds all over wherever, someone would yell out Carol Baskins and other people would respond with, killed her husband. I think we need to do that for Scientology, and I've got some thoughts. It could be Scientology, and then people yell, it's a cult! Or maybe it's even David Miscavige, is a cult leader, something like that. I feel like it could take on. I do. But we're going to need a lot of help making it a thing. So let's workshop that. Just put that in your back pocket. That's something that I'm thinking about. Very much inspired by some of these proclamations that Scientology is trying to get approved. And why do they do this? Legitimacy. They need to look like a respected, established religion. It's the only reason they do it. It's a PR boost. Because remember, Office of Special Affairs. Our friends at the Office of Special Affairs get points when these things make it onto the docket, get approved, and actually become a proclamation. So it's a big PR boost. So it looks like governments recognize us. We're totally real and not a shady cult. That's what they think it gives. Recruitment, which also is why Scientology does this, because if they don't keep bringing in new people, they'll have to start wedging each other for cash, which they are already doing. And it is, that well is running dry. It is. But let's be real. Dianetics being 75 years old doesn't mean it's worth celebrating, but they're going to try to do this. And no, Portage, Michigan is not secretly full of Scientologists. It is, I think this is basically another failed attempt by Scientology to seem mainstream. I think that's exactly what they're going for. But we need to keep an eye out for future L. Ron Hubbard holidays in other small towns, because they know they can't get this done in larger towns and communities. They're going for the small towns. So let me know what you think. Should Portage have just rejected the whole thing? Tell me in the comments if you're on the replay, or jump in the chat. What I'm happy, at least it got knocked down to not be everything Scientology was trying to make it sound like. Abigail says, I wonder if the Office of Special Affairs gets a pay raise if they're successful. Nope, they do not. Nope. They just get to, eat another day, maybe get some sleep if they're lucky. All About the Alternative. No, the book came out in 1950. I didn't double check. Yeah, 25. Yep. Yeah, the book came out in 1950. Hard to believe it's been that long. Cheryl says, if you open this book, it will empty your bank account, as a question of the day answer. I love that. I'm going to go through some of those question of the day answers. And again, seriously, when your town, you can check with your city council. Most city councils in most communities put their agendas online. It's not a bad idea to get involved in your community where you are. At least know what's on the agenda, what might be coming up, especially in the early part of the year where they're trying to get these done by March 13th. And then they're going to try and get them done on May 9th as well, which is the anniversary of Dianetics. So please do, if you feel so moved, to go check with your city council. And usually you can find it online. Does it matter to you? Not to me. They want the proclamation to announce at the birthday event every year. Absolutely. Do you remember? They would just flash them up on the screen and we were like, oh my gosh, there's so much. There's so much. Now we find out, no. Big scam. Who knew? Everybody knew. And you find out when you leave Scientology. All right, now let's talk about a little additional information in Leah Remini's lawsuit against Scientology. For this, my friends, we need to head once again to Tony Ortega's bunker. Boom, in the bunker, back. Wasn't that fast? Those stairs get shorter every single time. I'm going to link this down below. I have a lot of thoughts on this because basically, this is really interesting because Scientology, this is all my opinion that follows about this. This is my commentary on this situation. This is Scientology's courtroom circus. I feel like this is what they're trying to do, right? They basically have this legal shell game going on because a lot of people ask, Natalie, how does Scientology avoid lawsuits? Simple. They split themselves into more pieces than a toddler's puzzle. Right? It's all about splitting up, just like body thetans. You have so many of them. L. Ron Hubbard set up, actually, it wasn't even just L. Ron Hubbard. Scientology, he had help. His lieutenants, they set up a maze of corporate entities, the Religious Technology Center, right? The Church of Scientology International, Author Services International. It's them and their abbreviations, ASI, CSI, ASI, ABC, XYZ, WTF. Nobody knows. There's so many 3-letter words in Scientology. It's ridiculous. Meanwhile, David Miscavige runs the whole thing like a micromanaging nightmare boss. We've heard this over and over and over again. This is not me making this up. because I'm not making it up. Even though they will say, we've heard it over and over and over again. But in court, the Religious Technology Center, which is RTC, claims he's just the ecclesiastical leader who wouldn't dare direct a smear campaign. Oh, of course not. Oh my gosh, who in their right mind would think David Miscavige would direct a smear campaign? What? Well, the judge wasn't having it. So about a year ago, this is when this kind of first came up. RTC's lawyers tried to wiggle out of Leah Remini's lawsuit by saying she didn't properly name them in the complaint. And you know what the judge did? The judge was all not so fast and let Leah add testimony from two of Scientology's worst nightmares, Mike Rinder and Claire Headley. And RTC, the Religious Technology Center, what was their reaction? Pure rage, because now they actually have to defend themselves instead of just stalling. And RTC, they're trying to play this, but we're the victims here. They're whining that Leah's lawsuit violates their free speech, claiming that they were just defending themselves against her hate speech. Isn't it interesting how it doesn't work both ways in the minds of Scientology when it comes to that? Meanwhile, Scientology's version of defense includes stalking, harassment, and smear campaigns that would make a mafia boss say, chill out, dude. They don't see this, though. They just think it's totally normal. RTC also claims Leah hasn't provided direct proof they were involved. Yeah, right. Because that's all going to be on video and so, completely available. But anybody who worked with David Miscavige, especially in the Religious Technology Center or nearby, knew that that's what was happening, that is how it is set up, that he does micromanage Scientology. And whenever they get caught, they just point fingers at each other like a bad game of Clue. RTC is over here all, we don't do smear campaigns. Meanwhile, the CSI, Church of Scientology International, we just manage the churches. And then you got David Miscavige, who's I'm just a simple religious leader who happens to terrify everyone in the building. That's all he's doing. Don't look any further. Yet anyone who's left this cult or Googled it for even 5 minutes knows Miscavige controls everything. So then there was Mike Rinder's testimony, and RTC is throwing a tantrum over Mike Rinder's sworn declaration, mainly because he passed away and he can't testify further. So they're kind of trying to say like, well, Mike passed away and he can't testify anymore. Well, by that logic, it's like, so the words of somebody who is deceased is no longer valid. Yet I don't know if people who passed away, if their words didn't count, why does Scientology still worship everything L. Ron Hubbard ever scribbled on a napkin? Again, doesn't work both ways. Scientology wants to have it one way and they can't. So the bigger picture, Miscavige is still running the show. He loves control. And he's been personally involved in every major retaliation campaign against ex-members. Allegedly, that is the allegation. And this is what my opinion is based off of what I've talked to, what I've heard from people. But Scientology's legal defense that RTC is just a pure, holy organization that has nothing to do with these online attacks. It's all just a coincidence. I don't know that that's going to hold water, right? It's like if Miscavige, he's basically the Pope of Scientology. And a huge micromanager. I just want to repeat that again. Talk to anybody who used to work with him. So I don't doubt that Leah Remini's case is making Scientology squirm in ways because, they don't like being dragged into court, yet they drag all kinds of people into court. More on that in a little bit. And her lawsuit is actually forcing them to answer on these harassment tactics, which we know is all part of their fair game policy. And, they can't just settle this quietly or intimidate her into silence. Good luck with that. So I'm sure we will learn more about that as we move forward. But no one's buying it, Scientology. I just kind of feel like no one is buying it that David Miscavige does not actually run Scientology. You know what I'm saying? I mean, even many of you, right? You've been following all of this anti-Scientology news for some time. Some of you might be new. I just can't even imagine that even the public perception by now. But what do I know? All kinds of things. I have a lot of opinions all about the alternative. I went to a meeting here in Toronto years ago, a talk about Scientology. I was talked into buying the book at the time. Interesting. Did they keep you on the mailing list? Call you? What happened? Did you read the book? Some people, I'm amazed at how many people buy it and don't read it, but that's, that's with a lot of things. I have a bookshelf full of books I buy and have not yet read. Arkansas Flamingo, I'll bet Claire Headley will testify. Yeah, she's already an expert witness from the Masterson case. Exactly. There are other people who can too testify to this. So I just don't think that them claiming that is really going to work. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like they're just trying to turn this into more and more and more of this circus, pointing the finger every which way. And at what point is it like, no, we're not buying that? That there are actually receipts to back this up. We'll see how far it goes. I'm really watching it, and I have high hopes, but you know me, I'm hopelessly optimistic. If you know anything about me, you know that I always want to expect the best, hope for the best, wish for the best. And then you know what? Sometimes the best often happens. Oh, I'm just cracking up about your comments for the question of the day, which again, if you did not answer it, it's if you had to rename Dianetics to better describe what's inside, what would you call it? And my pick is how to gaslight yourself into bankruptcy. So tell me, I want to know what your thoughts are there. I'll keep an eye on that. You guys have got some really good ones. Oh, I cannot wait to share these. This is going to be fantastic. Oh, okay. So back on track here. Where am I? I'm so distracted by your awesome answers, which I'm just going to read a couple real quick. Marilyn Knoll says, how to F up your life with BS. Abigail says the name would be a science scam. How not to improve your life. Scientology's handbook. Oh, here. Me and Taz, Scientology's handbook for destroying your life in 5 easy steps. Mock says how to turn brain farts into an F ton of money, frying people's brains. These are so great. Oh my gosh. Hey, old Fritz, I see you there. I gotta grab more of these. And Nancy, I do know what the mistake was that I made with the buttons. And well, yeah, it's kind of messed up. Nancy can't access like she normally does, but I know what I did in StreamYard, Nancy, but I can't get out of it now. We have to just go with it. Thank you, Marth. Morning, Natalie in chat. Remember to hit the like button. Stasia says in response to the question of the day, Ron's Con, first start a religion. Luna, that's interesting. I can't believe how internet searches on Gaiman and Palmer are super limited on Google. Are they? I feel like I've seen a bunch of them. I do find it interesting that the last couple of articles I saw were very light, if even mentioning Scientology at all, which I wonder, is that another reason why they want it moved to New Zealand? Because it might be less of a hit to Scientology. I do not believe that Neil Gaiman is still a Scientologist, but his family and his family ties, they are, and they cannot be happy about this. But you guys tell me what you think. Charles says, we have a Scientology office in Portland. We need to unite. Yes, there are a few people that go out there and protest sometimes in Portland. I've seen that. It's actually, even people who have traveled and protested have been to Portland as well. Venus Blue says XOXO was a big thing in Gossip Girl and growing up for me. I remember seeing it in Gossip Girl and thinking, oh yeah, that's what back in my day, right before social media, we would write notes by hand and pass them around in class, and you'd have some XOXOs in there. Here's another one. Great Gig in the Sky says it would be called Hubbard Hoaxes, a con man's guide of spiritual scams. Oh, that is a good one. That's a good one. And then on Neil Gaiman, Mock says, I'd presume he wants to keep it away from U.S. soil and news. Usually privacy laws are better in other countries. That's a really good point, too, about the privacy laws. Yes, that makes a lot of sense. Yep. Again, Abigail, I would think the fact that criminal charges weren't brought in New Zealand would be a deterrent to hold the trial there. Yeah, or why they'd want to do that. Okay, another answer to the question of the day. Come here where logic doesn't exist. I love that. Nice one. Does it matter to you? Not to me. Venus is Blue on Neil Gaiman. If convicted in Wisconsin, he'd get less time. New Zealand is max 10 years. Wisconsin should be about 9 months or probation. Ooh, interesting. Venus is Blue. That would be a bit of a twist. Arkansas Flamingo, I agree. The ick factor is so high for the guy. It is. It just is. It really is. Okay, let's move on now. Let's get into some updates with Scott Hotchstetter. There's an update. I'm going to share an update from Dodge. And let's look at a clip from Growing Up in Scientology. Aaron Smith-Levin did a video where he had some of the clips that may be correlating to some of the charges. Scientology seems to be trying to stack a lot of things to make it worse and then attach hate crime to their alleged acts of vandalism. Now, Scientology is also very well known for casting a giant net when they're really trying to get something much smaller, right? And so which way they're trying to go with this, I think it's their, overkill and then the actual smaller issues they want to address, right? Like if it's a permanent stay away order or something like that. So first, let's take a look at, so you can see, I'll link it down below, because if you're curious as to what are some of the clips that may be tied to some of these charges and what Scientology is trying to charge with, they are no doubt trying to abuse the legal system. It's what they do every single time. It's what they live for. This is their MO every single day of the week. And it's been something that, I've been here on YouTube since December of 23. I've done over 1,000 videos about Scientology and regularly have talked about and shared their tactics of baiting people into getting in trouble so they can take legal action against them. I've read document after document from what's known as the OSA files, Office of Special Affairs, actual dictates of what they do, how they do it. I've covered multiple cases earlier of them doing this to former Scientologists and people never in Scientology, over and over and over again. There's a lot of data and information out there. And my 2 cents, if you're going to protest Scientology, I think it's good to have a good understanding of how dirty they play and understand that, so that you don't give them an inch, because they will take a mile from that inch. They will try to, and they will try to bait you into acting a fool, into getting upset, into a physical altercation. Look how many times they've tried to do this with protesters. We've been talking about it. I've been talking about it almost nonstop for a year since the live streaming protests started, with the hopes too that people like me who were in Scientology before, that we can bring the knowledge forward that we know. So do share that with people that that want to do that. The other thing is, know what the laws are in your community, because they can even vary by city. They absolutely can. Lupita. Aloha for that super sticker. Nat and chat, if you have not seen yesterday's Xenu TV, Bunky and Magoo, it's a must watch. Yes, I have it in my queue right now because I want to recap it tomorrow. Thank you, Lupita, for that. I had already locked in my lineup for today, and then I saw it. I thought, I got to watch that and add that on tomorrow. Whose birthday is it? Is it Debbie with an I's birthday? Oh my goodness. We have to stop everything and address dang it. I'm not in my right StreamYard, so I don't have my birthday music. We'll use something else, and we're going to punt here because I'm not in my right StreamYard. What is this song? Can we work with it? Let's try this one. Okay, we're just going to do it old fashioned. Everybody now, happy birthday to you, Debbie with an I. Happy birthday to you, Debbie with an I. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday. Big finish, everybody. Come on, to you, Debbie with an I. Happy birthday. Throw a bunch of alohas, hearts, happy birthdays in the chat. If you're on the replay, jump in again. I love a good birthday. After so many years of not making a big deal about it, I like to make a big deal about it. We could celebrate birthdays in Scientology, but it really just wasn't that much of a thing. You know, the big ones. I did have a bit of a bash for my 40th, but I turned 50 during the pandemic, so that kind of just went by. Uh, but yeah, hey, Moose on the Loose, good to see you. Thank you guys for throwing in those happy birthdays. I love that. Appreciate that so much. Okay, so back to this. There are playlists on my channel, and a lot of them, I think there's one even specifically about videos that involve the protests. So if you're new to all of this and you kind of want to get caught up, hit one of the playlists. And there's other creators too that share about some best practices. At the end of the day, you do you, you're going to do what you do. I just want to share that the information is there if you want to avail yourself of it. Because I think it's helpful. Because sometimes people go out there and get their buttons pushed, but they don't understand there's an underlying deeper reason than just giving you a hard time. The harassment has an intention, which is what we are seeing playing out now. So let's look at that clip from Growing Up in Scientology. Let's take a look and see. And again, this is an example of you showing some of the clips that could go along with some of these charges.
Again, vandalism, religious property, hate crime. The date is November 8th. Alrighty. I do have the video for November 8th. We are going to go full screen. I have it queued up to the right timestamp. And here we go. Okay, I watch everything on 2x speed, so let me put it back to regular speed. Okay. Okay, again, vandalism, religious property.
So there are multiple clips, I do believe, that he shares. Hold on a second here. Let's get myself back up there. What is happening? There we go. See, I'm in a whole different studio that I don't normally use, so none of my stuff is in the right spot there. But it is interesting to see, because you kind of see too where Scientology is twisting things as well. There are things that are like, okay, probably not a good idea to have done X, Y, Z. But what Scientology is doing is they're putting their twist on it, they're putting their stank on it, and they're trying to attach hate crime charges to it, which make it an entirely different type of charge. So I think there's a lot to, learn here. My takeaway as somebody who does sometimes protest Scientology, and I do want to go back to LA to the blue buildings for a real full circle moment for me. It's like what I'm learning is that there is a line between, right, harassment versus free speech and protesting. And like I've been out there in Florida saying, hey, David Miscavige is a squirrel, which to Scientologists means he's altering L. Ron Hubbard's technology. And in Florida at Flagwa, I thought that was a good one. And even by the blue buildings, these are not new Scientologists that are there. And many of them do have disagreements with Scientology charging so much money and all of the fundraising, which is actually against policy that L. Ron Hubbard laid out. So even per Scientology's own definition, that makes David Miscavige a squirrel. And it's like hilarious that nothing gets done about it and nothing will. Because I'll tell you what happens. When my mom, right before we left Scientology, she brought up some of these issues. Many Scientologists brought up these issues saying, hey, this Ideal Org program does seem to violate L. Ron Hubbard's policy on fundraising and barbecues, as he referred to it. And what would happen is if you continue to push that narrative that it's off policy, you would have to go into ethics in Scientology, and then you would get a program that involved what? Reprogramming yourself. And of course, Scientologists don't see it that way. but that is what ends up happening, all at your own expense. So as a Scientologist, you have to pay this money. So knowing that it is a violation of policy, I think for me, that gets through some with Scientologists. Anyways, you guys make your own choices, right? You make your own decisions on how you want to protest. I'm just saying there's a lot of information available that can help you understand how insidious and manipulative Scientology is. Just, it's there. It's there. And know in your area what the laws are. Lupita! Aloha. Thank you for the super sticker. A grandmother calls in and recounts the atrocities her grandchildren are going through in cult of Scientology. No more kids in Scientology. Did a grandmother call in? I'm not connecting, but I want to know more about that, Lupita. Thank you. And that, the different ways in that Scientology creates their own enemies too. I mean, you guys know, you're very familiar with this. They will also try to stir up trouble between people. Now, there are regular internet trolls that exist no matter what, but there's also Scientology internet trolls, which have a different kind of twist on things. And you can usually spot it because it is okay, right? You can have different opinions. You can have different styles of protesting. And I want to talk about these topics like in my chat, but we keep it as aloha as we can. You can have a difference of opinion that you can share. We're going to delete your comment or get rid of it if there's swear words in it, because this is a morning show. And if it's hateful, right? Because you can ask a genuine question from curiosity. Then there's a question with a question mark, but really it's an accusation. And that doesn't help anybody. But trying to understand how insidious Scientology is in creating these situations, in baiting people into reacting. And even Scientology, in my opinion, did multiple things on multiple protesters to get them into a mental state that would cause them to behave in ways that would build a case to show multiple incidences of what they identify as hate crimes, as hate speech, over and over and over again. And I've shared with you guys, that was my opinion of what happened with Scott Hotchstetter. They pushed his buttons on stuff, right? He reacted accordingly and protested in his style as he saw was fit. And they used that. They didn't stop him for many months. He was doing a lot of things that before would have gotten the police called, and the police were not being called. And in my opinion, it's because they were letting it happen to build a case so they could have clip after clip, video after video. But that doesn't mean that they're going to win, because they are putting a twist on it. And this is what's interesting about this case as it moves forward, is having sharing opinion and facts is not a hate crime, right? But there is a line there. And that's where I think when it comes to live streaming or protesting Scientology, there are lessons there. But again, I'm not telling anybody what to do. I'm just saying, I think you could learn some things that would help as this moves forward, because they will try to do this over and over again. I'm sure Scientology's hope is they're going to use Scott as an example, and it's not going to work. It's not going to work. This will backfire on them. It will. It does almost every single time. But I think definitely if you're out there, know what the laws are and do not take the bait. Let's look at an update from Dodge. This was from yesterday. Let's see. I think this was the latest update that he did.
DOA 50% chance to be released today, 50% chance, I would say, released tomorrow.
Which is today. He wasn't released yesterday because I believe he's waiting on the ankle monitor. So hopefully he'll be out then today for this.
As pretty much a 0% chance that by Thursday, DOA will still be in jail. Not going to happen. It's just not. They have the money ready. They have the money together. Before I start.
Now, I want to point out again, what is Thursday, you guys? Thursday is L. Ron Hubbard's birthday. It is the end of the week. It is the end of the year. It is huge in Scientology. L. Ron Hubbard's birthday is everything. They are all about it. They are running around trying to get their statistics up left, right, and center because this is the big week. So I'll speculate that somebody high up enough was like, this guy needs to be in jail by L. Ron Hubbard's birthday. That's my speculation. And though we did go to jail, he's going to be out and doesn't look like he will be in jail on L. Ron Hubbard's birthday. So there is that, even though they're going to try. There's that big push as well. And like I said, they're really going to try and use this as an example to deter people protesting Scientology. They've been doing this. Look at all the footage. Go to Xenu TV, to Mark Bunker's channel, and look at all the footage. Go to Tori Magoo 44. Look at all the footage of when they were protesting Scientology years ago and what the tactics were. They're no different, except now they do it on the internet. It's not just in person. When you see those videos on Mark Bunker's channel, Xenu TV, you see Scientologists trying to push the buttons of people who are protesting, trying to, get them into an altercation. And we've even seen some of that in LA in this recent round of live streaming and protesting Scientology. So it's all very, I think it's intentional with the dates. Stasia says, Thursday is my day off. L. Ron Hubbard can roll over and get bent. Do not let him ruin your day off. Absolutely. Does it matter you? Not to me. Says this could have been time to keep him away for the birthday event. That's right. Even though L. Ron Hubbard's birthday is on Thursday, the L. Ron Hubbard birthday event itself happens usually the first Saturday. So in Clearwater, I think it's happening on the 15th. Even I didn't get 100% confirmation, but in LA, it would make sense that it was happening on the 15th. And there's some protests going on, I do believe, on March 13th in Perth. You can keep an eye out for that. I do believe there's some stuff that's going to be going on in Denmark. Keep an eye out for that, either on the birthday itself of L. Ron Hubbard, but then also there's the opportunity to, they're having their celebrations, I believe, are going to be actually on the 15th. So does it matter to you? Not to me. I think that's valid. I think that could have been time to try and keep him away from the birthday event. His bail got lowered. That bail over $300,000 was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. And they got it down to, I believe, around $75,000. But again, I feel like Scientology goes into this knowing they're overshooting. They do that on purpose, because what they're really going for is something a little less. Pond by Christ. I think I'm saying that right. Thank you so much for becoming a member. I appreciate that. Tommy Anderson says, I guess I should start a cult to get a happy birthday. Is it your birthday today? Oh my goodness. Pond by Christ says, if you want people to take you seriously as a protester, be respectful. Acting an idiot takes away from the cause you're fighting for. And there are many different points of view of doing this. Some things get attention, right? And that's why you do it. But it's all, I think you got to definitely protest within your zone of knowing where those lines are with the law and recognizing that Scientology, even if you're not breaking the law, even if you're not doing things that are hate crimes, Scientology will take anything you say to show as an example of hate speech. They love taking things out of context too. And there's a lot of messages to share in protesting Scientology and calling them out on their abusive practices that don't involve, it's protesting their actions, the abusive practices. They can believe what they want. They can, if they want to audit and get rid of their body things till the end of time, so be it. So be it. Swedish Andrea says, if you see a Scientologist on the phone looking suspicious, be sure they're up to something. That's a great point, Swedish Andrea, because we saw that over and over again. Scooter guy with Danny was on the phone right before. And if you look back, we did see that. You're right about that. That's something you want to watch for. I suspected even there were times when there would be protesters out on L. Ron Hubbard Way, mainly when Scott would be there. And it's almost like they would cue the elderly person. They put my speculation is that they actually planted people out there to try and get him to respond in a way that they could then use as evidence that he's all about hate and all that. Because there were a couple of times where it just looked like, that's kind of interesting and odd timing and not usually what we see. People leave right away. They don't stick around. I honestly believe they did that. I think they planted some people out there to try and provoke a reaction so that they could show what was happening. Defunk says, wouldn't all crimes against religious institutions be hate crimes as a matter of course? I mean, I am not a legal expert. Yesterday, we read in California what makes a hate crime versus like hate speech or what they refer to as a hate incident. And there definitely seems to be a line, but a lot of it does still seem to be kind of subjective in ways as well. But that's why I think Scientology has just been piling on, trying to get rid of Scott. And I think it's going to backfire on them. We'll see. Juanita, hey Juanita, agree, protest, 100% agree. Protesting is one thing, but being offensive is not. If you really want to get a message through to Scientologists, they're more likely to hear it if there's not a lot of offensive language. It's one of the reasons too, on my channel, in my life outside of this, I swear like a sailor when I'm home doing my own thing. But here on YouTube, there's a message that I want to get out. What's very important to me is we get out the message that Scientology is a human trafficking cult. And here is how they do it. Here is how they do it. Here is what is happening. Here's how Scientology is taking advantage of this or that and getting that out. And for me, I don't feel that that will be as received if I present it in a way that's just like very antagonistic. You know what I'm saying? And plus, it's just not my vibe. Sometimes I'm feeling that vibe, but usually not. I'm just a bit more chill and want to share information and get it out that way. That's my 2 cents on that. I'm going to grab a couple more of these questions of the day here. Hold on. Because you guys are hilarious. Titan Topsy says, I think DOA hasn't helped himself here. I definitely don't think so. But also Scientology is being extra. And I think both those things are true. Mostly like, yeah, Scientology still got to be called out on being extra. They can't be weaponizing the LAPD. They have done it and the legal system. If there are actual provable crimes that they can prove, that's one thing. But right now, this is allegations. This is what they're saying. Hey, Moose on the Loose. I think I said hi to you already there. Okay, so LCat J says the name of the book would be called "What Would Jesus Not Do?" Oh, that's a good one. Northern Girl says the name of the Dianetics should be "Don't Pay the Toll to the Bridge of Total Ruin." That's a good one. Jen Aunt Nene Hobbs, how to go off the deep end without knowing it. Without knowing it was there while lighting your money on fire. While lighting your money on fire really adds to it. Swedish Andrea, it's not a cult, I promise. I think more people would buy the Dianetics book if that's actually what it was called. That would have been absolutely hilarious. Linda Lou says, how to discredit the field of psychology while plagiarizing Freud and other noted psychologists. That's a good one. Oh my goodness. Oh, Chuck Ross says the Portage proclamation that Scientology is trying to get through or got through should be called the Barefaced Messiah. No kidding. Sandy McKenna says Dianetics should be called Diuretics. How to flush your bank account. The ultimate financial cleanse. Oh my gosh. Sandy, you just have the best ones. Charles Stubbs says, I almost got sucked into volunteering with the Scientology office in Portland, Oregon. I'd love to hear more of that. You can email me, Natalie at lifeafteraccult.com. And if you guys see something, say something, send me clips, timestamps, etc. I cannot, as much as I enjoy YouTube content, I cannot possibly watch all of it. And I appreciate when you guys send me things that you see that are culty, Scientology related. Just make sure you include a timestamp if it's a video so I know where to look. Oh, Jesse, great question. Does anyone here think that Scientology is going to be held accountable? This round, probably not to a degree, but I also feel like it's an opportunity to raise more awareness about it. So even if the LAPD, even if the DA in LA is not going to hold Scientology accountable, public opinion will in ways. People will not support, or, you know, it will raise more awareness, and hopefully more people can understand what Scientology really is, who are people, more people, because the turning point in my mind in all of this is the sheer number of people never in Scientology, but all in on ending this cult, that are helping with this momentum, that are supporting survivors of Scientology and helping to amplify their voices, but also represent a larger piece, a larger part of the population who can say to these elected officials, especially if you live in that area, hey, we're not down with this. Why are you allowing this to happen? And it's probably going to take multiple times like this. And Scientology will probably keep trying to do what they're doing right now, which is to paint anyone who is live streaming or protesting Scientology as someone who's just a religious bigot, because that's what they've always done. They've been doing it for decades. It is what they always have done. And they'll continue to do that because it's all that they can do. Let me see if I can grab one of these. I saw we did that one. Oh, I'm glad a lot of you in Toronto and are connecting up there. Yeah, Julie O'Connell, the abuse of the Tiger King was exposed. I did not like this guy. Yeah, definitely. Scooter Chat Mama, Toronto Audit, for the question of the day. What would Dianetics be called? A waste of time and word salad. Oh, that is a good one. Word salad for sure. You know how horrific it is to have to work your way through some L. Ron Hubbard materials? I got to do a video just on that sometimes. That man talks circles. Could be all over the place. But if you didn't track, you had a misunderstood word. Jumped all over the place, talked about all kinds of things. Sandy McKenna's got another one. It would be called L. Ron's Big Book of Baloney. Does it matter to you? Not to me. Yes, they want the proclamation to announce the birthday event each year. Exactly. And this, again, I think it's a great thing to keep an eye out for in your own city, because they have to go further out now to try to get these things approved, these proclamations, because people are learning more. People on local, smaller city councils in communities are actually learning more about Scientology, and in large part through all of the actions, whether you're protesting physically at a location, here on YouTube, other social media, one-on-one, getting the word out. There is so much, calling into city council, into other meetings as well. There's so many things. Helping Karma. Thank you so much for the super sticker. Everyone else should protest at Blue while DOA can't. I personally, I think protesting at the Blue buildings is a good idea. Mostly because Scientology hates it. Especially if it's done, in my opinion, you know, just without so much piss and vinegar, so the message actually gets through. But you do you at the end of the day, right? I'm over here doing me. Tommy Anderson. Aloha. Thank you for becoming a member of the channel. I so appreciate that. We are doing the members only live stream this week, Thursday at 3 p.m. Central Time. I will get a notification done for that. And if you can't catch it live, please do jump in on the replay. I would love that. Gaslit says, Natalie, love listening to you at 2x speed. It's adorable and hysterical. You only get funnier. I've listened to myself on 2x speed and it sounds funny and it just cracked myself up. Oh, Sharona, I wonder if they state how many incidents equal a crime, therefore they are all crimes. I'm not sure. That's a great question though. But we are seeing they're stacking. They're trying to show a pattern of behavior. That's why they let a lot go over the last several months and weren't calling the police, in my opinion. They wanted that to happen. They were trying to get these things. They were building a case. That's what I think was happening. Handready says, as usual, Natalie, you are the voice of reason. I appreciate that. I hope so. Sometimes, right? Does it matter to you, not to me? Question of the day, Dianetics book would be called Leave Your Critical Thoughts at the Door. That is a good one. Oh, Brian from A Poet's got one. Pseudo psychoanalysis and self-diagnosis for dummies. Oh, Debbie with an I. Did we do Debbie with an I's birthday, or was that yesterday? I'm already like brain fogging on this. Give us your money. You won't need it where you're going. Oh my goodness. Bina says a descent into madness. You know what? That wouldn't be a bad name for the Dianetics book. I actually agree with that. That's a good one too. Yeah, Mock says they will eventually, being Scientology, held accountable because they're going to get too expensive to protect. Yes. Yep, that's a good point. Julie O'Connell says, public opinion about Scientology is what matters. Make it so more publications will see the true nature of Scientology. Yes. And a lot of times, especially when you talk about more what would be considered mainstream publications, you'll see, I mean, they're kind of limited sometimes in what they choose to cover, depending on who they're connected to. Here on YouTube and on social media, I believe they reach so much more people than even mainstream cable TV and whatnot, just depending. If you add all the exposure that this stuff gets online, the multiple conversations that are had on channels that don't even focus on Scientology, but have done exposés about Tom Cruise, Scientology, even Neil Gaiman. Mock says it would be an interesting experiment if Mustache Dude's verbal diarrhea or Hubbard's verbal diarrhea is harder to get through. You may need a vacation afterwards, though, to get your sanity back. Yeah, it felt like that. ASIN for the Dianetics book should be called Fairy Tales from a Lunatic. Wish we could do it. Jesse says scaring kids and the elderly is not protesting. I would agree. Titan Topsy says brains over brawn has more effect when protesting. Also the best way to not get arrested. I would agree. Does it matter to you? Not to me. Says just look at which protesters that have actually helped people, which technique works. Yeah, there's so much info. There's so much that we've learned throughout the last over a year now of this. There's so much information there. So Sharona for the quote of the day or question of the day, it should be called Going Broke, an introductory guide on how to destroy yourself and your family, repeating since there was a problem with backend StreamYard earlier. Got it. Thank you. Thank you. So when I end my stream, it's probably going to play Aaron's outro. So brace yourselves when we do that. Jean, Aunt Nene Hobbs, thank you so much for becoming a member. I hope we see you at the members only live stream, 3 p.m. my time on Thursday. Susan Good Grandma says, this is not you, Rainbow Connection. This is not your Rainbow Connection for the name of the book. Yeah, Dianetics is not known for being inclusive and tolerant. Not at all. Quite the opposite, actually. All right, that is what I have for you guys. If you haven't yet, please hit that like and subscribe so you can get more content like this. So I'm going to end stream, and it's probably going to play Aaron's outro because I'm in the wrong thing here, but at least it's a cute one. I will see you guys later. I hope you get out and have an amazing cult-free day.